The courtroom felt chillier than normal that morning. The fluorescent lights buzzed softly, reflecting off the waxed wood benches. Reporters murmured in the rear, anticipating something juicy, because everybody knew this was not a typical divorce hearing. This was the Brown family trial. The day America's formerly beloved sister wives would go head-to-head, not over dinner tables, but before a judge. Kody Brown sat at the defendant's table, rigid as a stone. His golden locks, once so charming on television, now seemed lackluster under the bright lights. His jaw clenched with every glance he shot across the room at Christine. Christine sat ringed with her attorneys, tranquil but enigmatic. She'd struggled too long to break now. This was her opportunity, not only for freedom but for truth. Robyn, the youngest wife, clutched her purse tightly in her lap. She hadn't spoken to anyone since she walked in. No smiles, no glances. Just silence, the kind that screams louder than words. And amidst them all was seated the judge, a gray-haired man with piercing eyes and a voice that sliced through tumult. He scanned the papers on his desk, then asserted, "Let's get started." Christine's attorney, Ms. Parker, stood first. Her voice was steady, but her voice had authority. "Your Honor, this is not merely a custody matter or monetary disagreement. This is about manipulation, deception, and emotional domination for years. My client, Christine Brown, has come here to reveal what actually transpired behind those cameras." Kody fidgeted in his seat, grumbling something under his breath. The tension in the courtroom grew thicker. Ms. Parker went on, her gaze fixed on Kody. "Years of humiliation and emotional deprivation behind a public facade of harmony for my client, while the defendant presided over domestic tyranny by night, control, gaslighting, and terror." Christine didn't flinch. She simply observed Kody, her hands remaining stationary, her heart pounding. Kody's attorney leapt to his feet. "Objection. This is a family issue, not an open trial." The judge lifted a brow. "Overruled. Continue." Ms. Parker reached into her folder and pulled out a small black USB drive. "Your Honor," she said quietly, "we have an audio recording that will clarify our claims. It was provided to us by one of the family members, anonymously." All eyes turned toward the wives. Robyn froze. Mary's lips parted slightly. Janelle's eyes darted between them all, fear flickering in her expression. Kody pushed forward. "What recording?" His voice quivered between rage and fear. The judge gestured. "Go on." The clerk inserted the USB into the speaker system. For a moment there was nothing but static. Then the sound of a voice Kody knew filled the room. Kody's voice. Cold, domineering, unruffled. "You'll do what I want if you want to remain part of this family. Don't make me regret adopting you." A gasp ran through the courtroom. Christine's face didn't budge, but her eyes shone with unshed tears. Kody leapt to his feet. "That's taken out of context. That was years ago." His voice trembled with rage. The judge rapped his gavel. "Mr. Brown, sit down." Robyn's hands were shaking now. The little tape had shattered the delusive picture of the perfect family. Christine slowly swung around to Robyn. For the first time in months their eyes locked. No hatred, only heartbreak. Christine breathed softly. "You gave it to them, didn't you?" Robyn remained silent. She hung her head, lips quivering. Kody leaned in close to his attorney. "Discover who leaked that, now." The judge coughed. "This tape will come in as evidence. We'll proceed with testimonies tomorrow morning." He banged his gavel once more, and it was like that. Anarchy erupted. Reporters streamed out of the courtroom calling for editors. Mary remained seated, shocked. Janelle approached Christine softly saying, "You sure you're prepared for what's next?" Christine's voice did not shake. "I've waited a long time to have my say. Tomorrow I will finally." That evening outside the courthouse the crowd was enormous. Cameras popped. Fans shouted questions. And somewhere in the background, a black SUV waited silently in the shadows, engine idling. Inside it a person was softly weeping. The window was rolled down and Robyn was revealed. Her face was flushed, mascara smudged. She clutched her phone tightly, speaking into the speaker. "I didn't mean for it to go this far. I just wanted the truth to come out." The voice on the other end was soothing. Familiar. "You did the right thing," it read. "Now let it burn." Robyn hung up, looking out at the courthouse steps where Kody and Christine used to stand together, both of them smiling for the camera. Those smiles were now gone, replaced with lawyers, evidence, and betrayal. The next morning, Christine woke up to discover her name trending everywhere. Hashtag Christine Brown trial, hashtag sister wives in court, hashtag the secret tape. Her phone rang incessantly. Supporters clogged her messages. Some called her courageous, others a liar. But there was one that caught her eye from a number she didn't recognize. You think you know everything, but you don't know my side. Christine scowled. No name to go with it. She looked out her window, and for an instant she could have sworn there was a black SUV pulled up across the street. Her heart skipped a beat. Was it Robyn? Or someone else altogether? Back in court, Kody came early. His eyes were darker now, sleepless, sunken. His lawyer whispered something and he hardly heard. On the other side of the aisle, Christine appeared serene even. But inside, she knew the worst wasn't even beginning yet. Because that recording, it wasn't the only one. Somewhere, hidden in Robyn's purse, was another USB drive. One she hadn't mentioned yet. And what was on that tape would annihilate them all. Morning sunlight seeped through the courthouse windows, casting long, pale stripes across the wooden floor. The noise was more raucous today, reporters shoving for position, microphones snapping on. Everybody knew something big was going to break. The first tape had broken the family's image, but the word of a second one. That guaranteed an explosion. Christine sat quietly at her table, hands in her lap. Her lawyer leaned in and whispered, "Stay calm. Let them make the first move." She nodded, but her stomach was knotted. The courtroom seemed smaller today, warmer. Kody was already sitting there, jaw clenched, not looking at her. Robyn came in last. Sunglasses on, shoulders tensed, grasping her purse as if it held her heartbeat. She shunned every eye as she eased into her seat. But Christine saw her shaking fingers, pressing the rim of the bag. The judge's gavel came down. Court is in session. Kody's attorney stepped forward, his voice oily and practiced. Your Honor, yesterday's alleged recording was intentionally edited. My client was unfairly misrepresented. He pointed towards Christine. We suspect these recordings were illegally procured, perhaps manufactured. Ms. Parker stood before the judge could respond. Your Honor, we can prove the source if needed. And if the defendant raises an issue of integrity, she cut off in mid-sentence. Her eyes darted to Robyn. The young wife's face was pale. Mrs. Brown, the judge observed, noticing her as well, is there something you would like to say? Robyn's mouth opened, then shut. Her eyes flashed to Kody, then Christine. No, Your Honor, she whispered, shaking. Nothing, currently. The first witness was Janelle. Deliberate, calm, but exhausted. She informed the court of fights behind the cameras. The control, the guilt, the favoritism. Her voice broke once when she said, we stopped being wives. We became performers in our own home. Kody sat stiff, face unreadable, but his fingers drummed the table wildly. Christine couldn't help but glance at him. For years she'd loved that man, believed every promise. Now she was hearing evidence that the promises were false. When Janelle had left the stand, the judge looked around and inquired, any other witnesses today? Ms. Parker nodded. Yes, Your Honor. Mrs. Robyn Brown. All cameras swiveled. Robyn stood stock still, her purse still in her hand. Kody's attorney whispered, you don't have to do this. But Robyn's voice cut the silence. No? I need to. She proceeded toward the stand, each step more hesitant than the previous one. She took the oath, then sat down. Mrs. Brown, Ms. Parker started gently, you were around for most of the closed-door family sessions, right? Robyn nodded. Yes. And you were usually the closest to Mr. Brown? Another nod. I was. Then tell us, Parker leaned forward. When did you begin taping him? The courtroom gasped. Kody's face reddened. You what? He hissed. Robyn's voice broke. It wasn't supposed to hurt you, Kody. I was afraid. You were getting worse and no one would listen to me. Worse how? Parker inquired. Robyn's eyes welled up with tears. He'd say he'd take the kids. He said if we ever left, he'd sabotage us on camera. I just wanted evidence. Parker motioned towards the purse. Do you still have that evidence? Robyn paused, then slugged the zipper open at a crawl. Within lay another black USB drive, shining brightly under the lights. Kody leapt to his feet. Your Honor, that's private property. She's disoriented, she doesn't know what she's doing. The judge's voice silenced him. Mr. Brown, sit down immediately. Robyn's hands trembled as she extended the USB. I don't want to hurt anyone, but they have to know the truth. The clerk picked it up gingerly, plugged it in. The speakers hissed to life. Silence first. Then, Kody's voice once more, but harder this time, full of rage. You don't threaten me. You think you can walk out and take the kids? Over my dead body. You walk out that door, I'll never let you have them again. Gasps were heard ringing around the courtroom. Christine put her hand over her mouth. Janelle wept. Kody pounded his hand on the table. That's edited. You're twisting everything. But it was too late. The courtroom had heard enough. The judge leaned forward. Mrs. Brown, when was this recorded? Robyn whispered, 2 months before Christine left. Christine's voice was soft but firm. That's the night he told me if I went public he'd destroy me. Kody glared at her, his voice low. You wanted a fight, Christine. You got one. The judge called a recess. The gavel cracked once more. Everyone rose, buzzing, stunned, whispering. Outside the courtroom doors, cameras burst with flashes. The world had just listened to Kody's temper in his own words. Christine glided down the hallway quietly, her attorney at her side. But behind them, a cry erupted. Robyn was sitting on the bench, crying. He's going to hate me. I didn't want this, he's going to hate me. Christine turned to her. He already does, Robyn. He just hides it better than most. Robyn raised her eyes, mascara smudged. Then what happens now? Christine's reply was cold, bordering on sad. Now we find out what kind of man he really is. That night the internet blew up. Clips of the audio went viral on social media within hours. Some fans came to Kody's defense, calling it manipulation. Others called it proof of all Christine ever intimated. But buried in the chaos was something no one noticed right away. An anonymous account posting snippets of yet another conversation. The caption read, "You've heard her side. Now hear mine." Christine's lawyer called immediately. That wasn't us, she said. Someone else is leaking the files. Christine's heart sank. Then who? At his rented apartment, Kody walked back and forth across the floor. His phone continued to ring. Producers, lawyers, even the PR department of TLC. He ignored them. At last he picked up the phone and called Robyn. She picked up after one ring, shaking. Kody, I never meant. Save it, he barked. You think you're innocent? You buried me alive. Kody, please. He hung up. He turned toward the mirror. The reflection staring back wasn't the charming patriarch anymore. It was a man cornered, humiliated, and ready to fight back. He picked up his phone again and whispered, if they want a war, I'll give them one. 2 days later, the court reconvened. But this time something was different. Kody wasn't quiet or defensive anymore. He was smiling. As the judge called for order, his lawyer stood confidently. Your Honor, the defense would like to submit new evidence. Communications between Mrs. Brown and her attorney that suggest these recordings were pre-planned for publicity. Gasps filled the room again. Christine's lawyer shot up. That's confidential and illegally obtained. But Kody's grin widened. You're not the only one with recordings, Christine. The judge slammed his gavel. Enough. Both sides will present authentication tomorrow. The court recessed, but everyone knew the following day would not be a day of justice. It would be a day of revenge. Christine leaned back in her chair, heart racing. Robyn's eyes wouldn't meet hers, hands clasped together in prayer. And Kody just grinned. The next morning, the courthouse was like a storm on the verge of breaking. Rain pounded the windows, low-hanging gray clouds outside the city. The reporters were shoulder to shoulder inside. Whispers weren't for love or betrayal anymore. They were for evidence. Kody Brown had vowed revenge and everyone was eager to know how far he'd push. Christine came with a serene face that did not reflect the shake in her hands. Her attorney leaned in close. They're bluffing. Don't take action unless you absolutely have to. But in the back of her mind, Christine wasn't certain. Kody was always mercurial. Loving one minute, cold the next. That inconsistency, it was what kept everyone in his grasp for so long. Kody walked in with a new energy. Shoulders squared. Chin up. No fear. For the first time since trial commenced, he appeared like a man who believed he might win. The judge's gavel slammed wood. We will continue proceedings. Kody's attorney stood. Your Honor, the defense presents to the court these text messages and emails between Mrs. Brown and her attorneys. They indicate she meant to exploit these recordings for money, including new media deals. Gasps circulated throughout the courtroom. Christine's attorney sprang up. Your Honor, they were pilfered. We have no assurance they are even legitimate. Kody's smile was small but venomous. Oh, they're real. She wanted to make this trial into a spectacle. That's what she always wanted, attention. Christine's fists were clenched. You're lying, Kody. You believe this has something to do with fame? You broke us. The judge shut them up. All evidence will be considered before another word of argument. The morning wore into hours of lawyer sparring. Both sides hurled accusations, objected, counter-objected. As noon loomed, the courtroom hummed with tension thick enough to cut. When they took a recess, Christine went out for some air. The rain had ceased, but the pavement still sparkled. Cameras beeped as she walked by. Fans yelled her name, some in approval, others in outrage. Behind her, she heard a call, Christine. She turned around. It was Mary, the wife who had been relatively quiet amidst the craziness. Mary's face was white, her eyes dark. You have to be careful, she breathed. Kody's got something else. I don't know what, but he said last night, she won't see it coming. Christine's breath hitched. Why are you saying this to me? Because once upon a time, Mary said quietly, we were sisters. And I can't stand by and let him ruin another woman to protect himself. When court resumed, the lights seemed harder, the air chillier. The judge summoned the next witness, Robyn. She appeared fragile, shattered even, yet she went forward. Kody refused to look at her. Mrs. Brown, the judge said, you were a party to both sides of this dispute. Have you been approached by anyone regarding disclosing material during this trial? Robyn shook her head hastily. No, Your Honor. I haven't leaked anything. The lawyer for Kody took a step forward. Not even to the media? Or maybe Christine's team? Her voice trembled. No. I only wanted the truth out. The lawyer's smile was icy. Then maybe you can tell me why your phone number shows up in the metadata of the anonymous recordings that are going around online? The room erupted in gasps. Robyn's mouth dropped open. That's impossible. Christine stared stunned. Robyn, tell me that's not true. Robyn's eyes filled with tears. I didn't leak anything. I swear. Kody leaned back, arms crossed. Guess the truth wasn't enough for her either. The judge called for order, but the energy had shifted. The wives weren't just testifying now, they were turning on each other. Christine's lawyer whispered, we can challenge the metadata. It doesn't prove she leaked. But Christine wasn't hearing her. She glanced at Robyn, whose shoulders had crumpled beneath the weight of guilt and fear. When the judge took a short recess, Christine approached her quietly. You know what he's doing, don't you? He's stalling us, again. Just like always. Robyn brushed her face. He said if I just kept my mouth shut, he'd keep me safe. I believed. Her voice cracked. I believed he meant it. Christine slowly nodded. He never defends anyone but himself. They both stood there, the cacophony of reporters ringing down the corridor. Two women, once sister wives, now just clinging on as pawns in a larger game. Inside, back in court, the judge resumed. I have gone through the materials that have been put forward. Until verification is made, they will not be viewed as valid evidence. Kody's attorney protested, but the judge shut him down. So the damage was done. The audience had heard enough to doubt Christine, enough to pity Robyn, enough to question what was real. Christine could feel it, the shift in perception. The crowd's eyes no longer saw her as the victim. They saw her as the woman who might be capable of anything. Her lawyer whispered, we'll fix this. Just hold on. Christine nodded, but she wasn't so sure. She sat alone in her hotel room, scrolling through hours of comments. Hashtag Team Kody, hashtag fake tapes, hashtag Christine exposed. All trending. She laid her phone down and said to herself, he's winning the narrative again. Then her phone vibrated. Unknown number. A text message. You must get a look at what's in his briefcase tomorrow. It's not what you believe. The morning after was heavy with tension. The courtroom was packed. The judge wore a haggard look. Even the stenographer's fingers quivered from the rapid pace. Kody sat in that same unsettling calm. There was an envelope before him, sealed, thick, white, and foreboding. When asked by the judge if he had additional evidence, Kody merely nodded. Yes, Your Honor. These are transcripts of private discussions between Christine and some media representatives, talking about exclusive interviews and profit shares. Christine's attorney leapt to his feet. This is harassment. None of this is abuse. Kody sat forward, voice low but sharp. It establishes motive. The judge waved the two sides forward. Papers were distributed, whispered things shared. Christine's heart raced. She could already see the headlines emerging. Then out of nowhere, a booming voice cut through the tension. Robyn's. Stop it. All of you. The room came to an instant halt. Robyn stood up, shaking. You want to discuss recordings? Betrayal? Then play the one he doesn't want you to hear. She dug into her purse again, not for a USB this time but for her phone. Her thumb rested on the screen. Robyn, don't, Kody cautioned, his voice sinister. Tears flowed down her face. You told me to lie for you. You said if I remained faithful you'd make things right. But you can't make this right anymore. She pressed play. The courtroom erupted in a new recording, muffled then clear. Kody's voice once more, colder than ever. Don't worry about the court. By the time they see the truth, it'll already be rewritten. I always control the story. The room was silent. The gavel of the judge came down but no one budged. Christine gazed at Robyn, her eyes wide. You kept that. Robyn nodded tremulously. I didn't intend to. I just couldn't delete it. Kody's mask splintered. His lips parted but nothing was said. As security led parties out, the media poured into the hall. No one talked to cameras this time. Not Christine, not Kody, not Robyn. But in every head in that courthouse, one question ran. What does it do when the man who always masterminded everything finally loses mastery? And as the lights went down and day turned to night, the answer hung around, unseen, uncompleted, but unavoidable. The courtroom is colder today. Even the hum of the air conditioning sounds more pointed, cutting through the tension that has filled everyone's chest. The benches are packed. Reporters, curious spectators, and even a couple of individuals from Flagstaff who used to be neighbors of the Browns. The trial has become a spectacle, and today, everybody knows something significant is going to take place. Kody sits at the defense table, his arms folded tight over his chest. His attorney leans over and speaks urgently to him, but he's not hearing him. His gaze is fixed on Christine, who sits with her attorney, calm and remote, her face unreadable. She's not watching him either. Not today. Not any longer. The judge clears his throat. Mrs. Janelle Brown, please take the stand. There is a murmur in the courtroom. Janelle? She had remained impartial for so long, always the mediator, always attempting to maintain what was left of the family unit. But now she's taking the stand. She moves deliberately to the witness stand, her heels clicking on the floor. Her eyes flash briefly toward Kody, just for an instant, then she glances away. When she raises her hand to pledge to tell the truth, her fingers shake. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes, I can, she replies in a whisper. Her voice is very soft, but the courtroom mic picks up every tremble. Christine's attorney steps forward. Mrs. Brown, can you describe what you saw during the months leading up to the breakup of the family? Janelle breathes deep, her voice shaking. It wasn't one thing. It was years of little things. Broken promises. Fading trust. Kody and I, we tried. We all did. But it wasn't love anymore. It was about control. Kody's face clenches. His jaw works, his fingers digging into the table's edge. Janelle goes on. I remember the day Robyn moved in. It all changed. Overnight the rules were different. What was acceptable for one wife wasn't acceptable for another. And when anybody challenged it, particularly Christine, Kody labeled it disrespect. The lawyer nods. Did you ever see Kody treating Christine unjustly? Janelle glances down, her Adam's apple bobbing. Yes. Too often. He'd silence her with his opinion, belittle her in front of the children. It wasn't the man I married years ago. It was a different man, an angry man. The audience shifts uneasily. Robyn, who sits several rows back, wipes away tears. Kody finally utters words, his voice booming to ring out. That's not true. You're distorting everything. The judge bangs the gavel. Mr. Brown, calm down. Kody leans back, panting. His attorney whispers close. Let her speak. You'll get your turn. Christine, on the other hand, doesn't flinch. Her eyes locked on Janelle, perhaps thankful, perhaps culpable. The attorney moves closer to the witness stand. Mrs. Brown, did you ever hear or see anything that would account for the recording we heard yesterday? Janelle pauses. I didn't know about the tape. But I knew secrets were being hidden. Money things. Personal things. Kody was always concealing papers, hiding accounts. When Christine began asking questions, he became defensive. Kody's attorney objects. Speculation. Sustained, says the judge, although even he appears disturbed. The interrogation halts. The courtroom is heavy with a silent tension. All wait for Janelle to go on, and she does, her voice becoming emotional, almost brittle. One night, she whispers, I went to speak to Christine. She was sobbing, alone in the kitchen at 2 o'clock in the morning. She said she was afraid, not of Kody but of losing herself. She said she no longer felt like she existed within that family. Christine looks away, her eyes brimming with tears. Kody looks down at the table, refusing to meet her gaze. Janelle goes on, her voice breaking. That's when I realized it was over. We were no longer sister wives. We were strangers living in the same house. The lawyer nods. Thank you, Mrs. Brown. But before she can descend, Kody's attorney rises. A few questions, Your Honor. He moves toward Janelle, smooth, steady, his voice cutting. Mrs. Brown, you say you love Christine. But you remained. You remained for years following these so-called unfairnesses. Why? Janelle regards him peacefully. Because I wanted him to change. He mocks. Or did you just benefit from staying? Financial security, a house, celebrity. The crowd gasps. Janelle's eyes blaze with fury. I stayed because I believed in family, even when it broke me. The lawyer continues. You talked about control. But didn't you used to say on national television that Kody was a good father? That he supported everyone? I did, Janelle says. Because at that point I wanted to believe it. But giving money does not equate to giving love. Christine nods her head almost imperceptibly with her eyes closed. The attorney leans in, his voice dropping. And you believe that Christine should have full custody and control of the estate? I believe she should have peace, Janelle responds in a firm voice. The room falls silent once more. Then Kody explodes. You're lying. You're all turning against me. The judge admonishes him once more, but this time no one so much as glances his way. The spotlight is on Janelle, the woman who finally uttered what so many had been too afraid to say. As she descends from the stand, she walks in front of Christine. The two women exchange a silent, loaded glance, years of unspoken words passing between them. Robyn, sitting in the back, mouths to herself, He promised me this wouldn't happen. The judge orders a brief recess. The instant the gavel hits the bench, the courtroom erupts into whispers. Journalists dash out to complete their reports, cameras click and, Janelle turned. Murmurs fill the air. Christine rises, drawing a slow, deep breath. She appears shaken, not so much by Janelle's statement, but by the memories which came flooding back with it. Her lawyer leans in. We're gaining ground. Tomorrow it's Robyn's turn. Christine nods, her voice low. Then it's going to get worse before it gets better. In the corner of the courtroom, Kody sits motionless. His fists clenched, his eyes cold. He knows what's coming. Robyn's testimony could save him, or it could destroy him for good. Outside, the media swarms. Headlines already flash. Janelle testifies. The Brown family secrets exposed. But behind closed doors, the family that had a vision of togetherness is broken irreparably. The camera pulls out in your mind's eye. The courtroom tiny in relation to the tempest raging within these individuals. The sound of a door slamming shut rings out, the end of another day, and the start of something much more sinister. Because tomorrow Robyn will testify, and the secrets she keeps are the type that can't be buried. The courtroom is more oppressive than ever. Every seat is filled, every eye is fixed, every breath is shallow. Today is the day Robyn Brown is finally called to the stand. The whispers cease the moment the bailiff says her name. Mrs. Robyn Brown, please come forward. Her heels click softly as she walks towards the witness box. She appears waif-like, in a light gray suit, hair pulled tightly back, a delicate cross necklace shaking against her chest. Kody's eyes track her every move, full of hope and fear. He is aware that this testimony might be the last opportunity to rescue whatever's left of his world. Christine sits up straight, composed but cautious. Her hands are folded in her lap. She understands Robyn's words have the potential to change everything. Following Robyn's swearing in, Christine's attorney moves forward. His voice is steady, almost compassionate. "Mrs. Brown, would you explain the recording that was presented on day 2 of this trial?" Robyn's tone is gentle but firm. "That recording belonged to me." There is a gasp in the courtroom. Even the judge leans forward. Kody's eyes widen. He did not expect that. Robyn goes on. "I taped that evening because I was afraid. Kody and Christine were arguing. Again. I figured if anything bad happened, I'd have proof about what really did happen." The lawyer nods slowly. "Can you describe what you heard on the tape?" She swallows hard. They were screaming. Kody blamed Christine for betrayal, for turning the other wives on him. She told him she was sick of living a lie. And then, there was a pause. A silence so lengthy I thought something awful had occurred. But then Christine told him, "You can't love 4 women when you don't love yourself." Christine blinks rapidly, her eyes brimming. Kody gazes down, his jaw clenched. The lawyer's voice becomes incisive. "Mrs. Brown, did you revise this recording prior to submitting it?" Robyn shakes her head. "No. I couldn't even play it back. It hurt too much." Kody's attorney rises, taking a step forward. "Mrs. Brown, would you tell us your husband ever physically abused Christine?" Robyn pauses, glancing at Kody. He makes a small, panicky shake of the head. "No," she says at last. "He never physically hurt her. But words can hurt too." The courtroom stirs again. The judge raps the gavel for order. The lawyer continues, "Can you explain that?" Robyn gives a nod, tears falling now. He'd say she was disloyal, ungrateful. He'd say she ruined the family. And sometimes he'd say things he didn't mean, but they hurt anyway. Kody can't bear it anymore. "Robyn, stop this." She turns to him, shaking. "You said the truth was important. You said we'd get this right together." The judge calls for a recess, but Robyn refuses to stop. "No, I want to finish." The courtroom is quiet once more. Christine's attorney steps a little closer. "Mrs. Brown, do you think your husband manipulated or coerced the other wives?" Robyn gazes down. I think he loved us in his own way. But he used that love to silence us. He wanted control, not unity." Christine's eyes lock with hers. A flash of mutual pain, not triumph. Then the lawyer brings it all crashing down. "Mrs. Brown, do you think Christine is worthy of custody and her rightful share of assets?" Robyn nods. "Yes. She deserves her peace." Kody pounds his fists on the table. "You lied to me, Robyn." She looks at him, her voice cracking. "No, Kody. I spoke the truth. That's what you always told us to do." The courtroom erupts in chaos. Gasps, murmurs, cameras clicking. The judge bangs for order again and again, his gavel thudding like thunder. When order at last returns, he breathes a deep sigh. "We'll reconvene for closing arguments." As Robyn resigns, she steps past Christine. For an instant, their hands touch, not as adversaries, but as 2 women who have borne the same weight too long. Outside the courthouse, the storm clouds at last burst. Rain pours down and soaks the reporters, shouting questions that nobody will answer. Within, the judge returns from an hour of deliberation. The courtroom stands as he enters. His voice is calm, grave. Having considered all evidence and testimony, the court holds in favor of Christine Brown. Christine's breath is taken away. She presses a shaking hand against her lips. The judge goes on. "Custody and equitable distribution of property are hereby awarded. In addition, claims of coercion and manipulation are recognized as valid." The gavel falls with a sharp crack, final echoing. Kody sits motionless. The man who once commanded a family of 20 is now a shadow, broken under the weight of truth. His eyes are empty, staring ahead, unseeing. Christine stands slowly. She doesn't celebrate. She doesn't smile. She simply exhales, tears falling freely. The courtroom empties. Robyn approaches Kody. "I'm sorry," she whispers. He doesn't look at her. "You should be." He takes a step back, trembling. Christine passes by them with her attorney. And for the first time in years she experiences something she hasn't felt in ages: peace. But she pauses before exiting the room, facing back towards Kody. I didn't want this. I wanted us to heal. But you kept choosing pride over love. He doesn't respond. She walks out, the heavy wooden doors closing behind her like the final chapter of a long, painful book. Outside, the rain has softened into a drizzle. Christine lifts her face to the sky, letting the water wash away the last traces of pain. Robyn stands on the courthouse steps, arms around herself as Christine walks away. She says softly to no one in particular, "Maybe now, we can all begin again." Christine approaches her car. The reporters surround her, yelling questions. "Christine, how does it feel to win? Will you ever forgive Kody? Do you see yourself speaking to Robyn again?" She stops, turns, and all she says is, "I just want peace for all of us. That's all I ever wanted." She climbs into her car and drives away, the courthouse behind her in the rearview mirror, a reminder of all that she's leaving behind. Inside, Kody alone sits. The courtroom is vacant now, but the reverberations linger. Janelle's tears, Robyn's admission, Christine's silence. He hides his face in his hands. Perhaps he didn't lose them all in one day. Perhaps he lost them bit by bit, each time he opted for control over compassion, power over love. As the lights fade and the janitor cleans the floor, Kody raises his head for one last glance about. The former proud patriarch, now nothing more than a man beset by the specters of his own creation.